into the workplace because, you know, it's the people that drive performance that drive results. And if the people aren't properly conditioned, then results are not going to be the proper results. My dear friend Yogi Ripple, a couple of years ago, I met a very unique person with their partners, Scott Pelton and Yogi Ripple. They have a high sustainable performance institute. They help companies be in the zone, in the high sustainable performance zone. And they've studied over 2,500 executives in over 40 countries, and they've written a book. And that book is called Sink. You can't see it very good. Sink, Float, or Swim. And here's what they found out. They found out that over the spectrum of performance, you have individuals that are at the burnout spectrum. The burnout spectrum is where individuals are completely unable to perform their duties. They're just dragging. They're just completely dragging what they're doing. They're burned out, basically. And on the other side, you have high sustainable swimmers. Those are individuals that are energized, that are creative, that find the proper ability to, they have the resilience to go out and do whatever it is that the business is going to ask them to do. And in the middle, by the way, there are the floaters. Those that are comfortably numb. Those are the individuals that are just overworked, overloaded, trying to get by. And by the way, it's caused a lot of time by what's happening in our environment today. How many people know individuals that have lost their job as a result of the economical downturn? Raise your hands. You know, you did, okay. How many individuals, how many companies find themselves with a smaller workforce, but the workload is not decreasing? The workload is actually increasing. So that's a nice formula. How is it that we're going to expect less people to do more? So if you had individuals that were, okay, performers, now you're actually clogging their productivity by giving them and overworking them. And what will happen, ladies and gentlemen, is many of the floaters, the biggest risk for any organization is they start sinking. They start going from floating to sinking. And what is that costing organization? Here's actually some of the results. There are 5% of all people that they've studied were swimmers. People that actually get in work and they are so resilient, so energetic, they are creative, have the energy to actually perform at their optimal peak level to drive the objectives of an organization. Why we have sinkers? These are individuals that are just completely burned out and gone, done. But here's the biggest tragedy, is that 80% of the individuals were floaters. So those are just like a time bomb waiting to tick. It's a time bomb for individuals. As you start overloading them, they go towards the sinking mode. You know, there are companies that are sinkers. Those are companies that don't invest in their people, that say, let's wait until the end of this quarter so that we can do this training. Let's wait until when things get better. But you know, it does not get any better. It doesn't get any better. And there are those companies that I've just said, the floaters. Those are the companies that try to rob their people out of their own rights. They try to let them get by, overload them, overwork them, and realize that they're really not equipping them. Actually, what they do is they equip them with anti-stress ideas, not to sink, but they don't equip them with ideas to actually go and become swimmers. So yeah, here are some companies today that invest in corporate wellness and anti-stress strategies, but all what those strategies do is actually avoid a drift towards that side. While with Tinman, we actually work with companies. We work with companies and we optimize 4 different pillars. Mindset. When was the last time you actually utilized the mental imagery before going in on a meeting? You've actually visualized the outcome of what you want to achieve prior to going in on that meeting. Visualizing how will the conversation go, what would you do if this happened, but you pretty much walk the talk before you actually do it. Formula 1 drivers walk the entire track before they actually jump in the car at 300-400 kilometers per hour, because when you're going at such speed, you have no time to look at the details. So mental imagery is one of them. The other one is nutrition. Of course, you know, we are what we eat, and the amount of nutrition we put inside of our bodies is what's going to drive our performance. Mindset, nutrition, recovery, and movement, of course, is today we're sitting in an environment where our bodies are not active, and it's automatically becoming less and less resilient and agile. Ladies and gentlemen, we work with corporations to actually drive their performance through creativity, to help them become more resilient, utilizing our four-pillar sustainable performance model. Are you a sustainable high performer? What are you doing to actually be in this peak all the time? Are you a floater or are you a sinker? Well, don't answer that question, but through Tignim we do two things. Number one is we actually improve performance and we increase sustainability. We do the following by building high energy, effective and brain agility. At the same time, we build sustainability by building resilience to the workforce, setbacks, and avoid illnesses. So what we call prehab versus rehabilitation. Why do we have to wait to be sick to start working on somebody? What can we do to avoid them being sick and to actually get them more resilient all the time? This is the performance pillars. The word Tignim is a Latin word that stands for pillars. Today, when you want to drive performance, many companies think of the normal or the typical learning or strategies like sales strategies, negotiation strategies, leadership strategies, communication, project management. But what they fail to realize is what? At the bottom of that is, do you have the energy to drive this information? Do you have the resilience? How about the health and brain agility? Could you go to a negotiation today and get the job done without being properly fed? Yes, you could, but over how long of a period of time can you do that? So again, it's about integrating mindset, nutrition, movement, and recovery. This is one of the things that we show our clients is for them to realize the power of hydration. How many of you realize that you should be drinking over your 8 glasses of water on a day-to-day basis? Here's why. See, this is a brain at the bottom. You can't see it very well, but this is a brain that is dehydrated. There are obvious holes. These holes are areas of dysfunctionality of the brain. Those are areas, when you grow old, you start thinking, I can't remember something. Well, why? Because of the lack of hydration. And the other side, again, you see the same brain but with less crevices. A hydrated brain is a brain that will work in optimal conditions. So get that water, start chugging. Get that water and start chugging it. The first thing I do in the morning is I drink 2 glasses of water because I know during the day I don't have the time to stop and drink the water. But if I take that, almost 1 liter in the morning or 3/4 of it to get me going, I am that much ahead of the game than most of the other executives that want to play do business with me. Okay, there's a concept outside called absenteeism. It's going down. Good news. You know what the bad news is? There is something called presenteeism that just popped up. What is presenteeism? Is actually people showing up to work, but they're out of it. They're not even there. Today, this concept is happening because why? We know that due to the economic conditions, what's happening is people are scared not to show up to work if they're sick. They say, if I don't show up to work, God, maybe I'll get fired. God forbids. They'll fire me. So actually, people show up to work not able to perform their duties. So here's a study done in the US by a company called Lockheed Martin. That study looks at 28 different disorders, areas of dysfunctionality of individuals. Those 28 areas, I only put the top 5 of them. Those top 5 areas show how relevant they are and what's the average loss of productivity and what's the amount of annual loss. So if we were to look at the following, these 28 different, which are not all listed here, will cause over $34 million of loss of productivity for one company, which is Lockheed Martin. Let me show you the following slide. This is the average number of unproductive hours in a typical 8-hour days for various conditions. Heart disease, respiratory infection. So when you have a heart condition, you have 4.3 hours of unproductivity. The same Tignim group, one of the first steps to work and engage with executives, they actually do a small assessment. They do a physical. They found out that 40% of executives that actually assessed, 40% had hypertension, which is it's a heart condition. But less than 5% of them realized